right in front of me now. Now, how come you missed a figure like that?
This is Mr. Thomas, the works manager. Not the easiest man in the world to get on with.
Now, come off it, Joe. Look, I've got it right in front of me now. It's here in black and white.
A tough customer, but he could be a good customer.
Item 3.
And this is Bill Jones. He's after a contract to supply paint to the factory. Bill hasn't been having a great deal of success lately.
Morning.
Hello, Mr. Jones.
It's you?
Yes.
Good.
But it's very busy.
Oh, don't worry, my love. You'll be pleased to see me.
You know, Bill isn't a bad salesman. He knows his product and its benefits. He can deal with objections. And when it comes to closing a sale, he's really quite good. And yet... "30 seconds. What happened?
Huh? Nothing. I didn't get started.
30 seconds was all that it took Bill Jones to lose that sale. Mind you, that works manager was a difficult customer. Perhaps this one's different. Let's see how Bill's doing this time. Oh. How was it?
Hopeless. He just wasn't with me.
Why did he lose those sales? Why are those first 30 seconds so important? Because that's how long it takes a customer to decide whether it's worth his while to hear what you have to say. The salesman who can't start, can't sell, as Bill Jones found to his cost. He might just as well go fishing. You see, selling is a bit like fishing. Before you can catch a fish and cook it for supper, you've got to get it interested, persuade it to take part in the game. How do you go about it? Take a cunning old trout, skulking at the bottom of his pool, preoccupied with his own concerns. How do you get him to come out and play your game? A fisherman does it by offering the fish something attractive. For instance, one of these. You must do the same thing. Offer your customer something attractive to persuade him to take part in the proceedings.
Here it is, Mr. Thomas. Adamantex.
I'll ring you back, Frank.
It's more than a paint. It's a whole program of protection for your factory. It resists corrosion, inhibits condensation, contains a
No,
permanently
thanks.
effective...
I'm not interested.
It didn't work, did it? Because he started by selling the product as soon as he got in the door. He jumped the gun. Instead of using this, he used this. Use the frying pan at this stage, and you'll frighten him and send him diving for safety.
No, thanks. I'm not interested.
Barging in on people and straight off singing the product's praises, that's not selling. To do the job properly, you need a full sales interview. In those first 30 seconds, what you have to do is sell that interview, not the product. Sell the interview, not the product. But how do you sell the interview? The real reason a customer will have a discussion with you is because there's a possibility you can help him solve a problem or fulfill a need. Help him solve a problem or fulfill a need. Showing him there is such a possibility is what you have to do in those first 30 seconds. But you can only do that if you have some insight into his problems. There are 3 ways of getting that insight. They are research, experience, or an informed guess. Let's take research first. This is how it can be used to sell an interview. This man sells aviation fuels. Watch how, by having done research into the airline schedules, he is able to make the most of those first 30 seconds.
You found your way over all right?
Yes, no trouble.
Dead on time, which makes me feel rather guilty. I'm afraid I'm going to have to cut our appointment short.
Problem?
A hell of a lot's cropped up this morning. I've got to be in G block in 5 minutes.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, we can talk on the way over.
All right.
The new schedules that come into operation next year.
They're going to involve you in a much faster turnaround, aren't they? Yes, we're going to have to get some of the big jets reloaded and away inside half the time. We can probably find a way of shortening the refueling time. That'd be a help, wouldn't it? Yes, it would. Look, I'll cut this next meeting as short as possible and we can have a talk afterwards.
Fine.
Success. Why? Research. He'd done his homework and found out one of his customers' problems and knew what to offer. He sold the interview. Now he can go ahead and sell his high-speed refueling system. The second way of finding out about your customer's problems or needs is experience. Experience based on knowledge of the customer's problems gained in a previous interview.
Watch how this salesman uses past experience to sell the interview.
Good afternoon, Mr. Atkins.
Oh, hello, Tom. Sorry, mate. Nothing for you this month.
Things still slow, are they? That new store up the road.
They're still taking a lot of my custom.
I've been giving your problem a bit of thought. And I believe you could win some of those customers back.
I'd like to know how.
Well, I can't work miracles, but I can give you a couple of suggestions which may be of help. For instance, you could clear the top of this desk and put
The salesman's previous experience with that customer told him about a need, and his offer to discuss it sold the interview. Now for the third way of finding out about your customer's problems or needs, the informed guess.
Yeah?
Good morning. I'm George Newsom from the Thames and Medway Life Assurance Company.
Sorry, can't afford any insurance.
No, well, it isn't easy to save money these days, is it? But there are ways.
Look, I'm afraid I haven't got the time.
It may be possible to provide for your family's future without ruining yourself in the process. Now, it'll only take a few minutes to find out which way is best for you.
Well...
Then it's up to you. But in fairness to yourself, shouldn't you and your family discover what the possibilities are? Now, this diagram shows you the various forms of protection. You'll probably recognize one for your own needs.
Yeah.
Well, shall we have a look? Ma'am?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That salesman sold the interview by making an informed guess. Mind you, there were plenty of clues about to help him. The toys on the garden path. And this. Well, now that he's sold the interview, he's in there asking a whole lot of questions. Because he sold the interview first. But if he'd started with a string of questions, the customer so easily might have shut the door in his face. So, whichever method you use, research, experience, or the informed guess, the important thing is to sell the interview, not the product. To sell the interview, we've seen how you must show the customer there's a possibility you can be of help to him. That's one thing, but it's quite another to show him that you, and only you, are the man to do it. So now we come to the second part of starting the interview. Selling yourself.
Morning, Mr. Thomas. Pardon, suntan. Just got back from Majorca. Terrific it was. Morning, Mr. Thomas. You didn't watch the telly last night, did you? Eh? That play? Filthy, wasn't it? Good morning, Mr. Thomas. Yeah, you haven't heard this one, have you? No, wait for it, wait for it.
Yes, that's exactly what we didn't mean. Understood like that?
Can go in.
Thank you. Morning, Mr. Thomas. I'm Bill Jones from Madam Antek's Paints.
Glad you were on time. Can we make it quick? I've got a very busy morning.
Of course, Mr. Thomas. May I? Thank you. The fumes given off in some of your processes must add to the maintenance costs in your factory.
Always have. Always will. So?
I believe you might find our new paint could show considerable savings on those costs. It'll only take a couple of minutes for you to see if we can help.
Well, I've got a meeting in 10 minutes.
Well, if we're not finished by then, Mr. Thomas, I can make another appointment. All right? Now, tell me, what is the main corrosive element?
Well, in number 2 shop, it's sulfur. Whilst over at number 3 shop, it's the hydrochloric acid. Mind you, we've tried many things over the last 5 to 10 years. None of them really satisfactory.
He's hooked him. And it took less than 30 seconds. Now, whether he's succeeded in landing him and cooking him, that's another story.